So we're going to start here. I'm recording this. Very pleased to welcome Wendy Lanfear to the call. If you've seen Claire Newell on Global or on TV, Wendy works with Claire there, and Wendy's been a travel agent or in the travel industry for a number of years. I've got a couple stories about Wendy. Wendy's husband, Dave, actually, it means a lot to me. He hired me into the credit union in 2007. So I've known the Lanfears for a number of years. And I've got a funny story, Wendy, just to kick off. So this goes back. Wendy's a great host, and she loves, having people over at her house. And so one year we were having a Christmas party at their house. And earlier, like a month before then, her husband, Dave, unfortunately had to let an employee go. It just wasn't working out. And so we were all over at the house, and there's been a couple, another person replaced this employee, and we're having a great time. And all of a sudden we hear this like bang, bang, bang on the door. And so Dave goes to answer the door, and Dave, no one's ever accused Dave of being physically imposing. Like, he's about average height and weight. And so this guy who he'd let go was a good 6 inches and about 50 pounds heavier than him. And he's standing at the door wanting to come in. And so, Wendy kept her cool, like entertained everyone. And Dave was able to keep this gentleman who he just let go a month before out of the house. And so and the new employee that had replaced him didn't know what was going on. So I always think back to that when I think of Wendy and being at your house. So thank you so much, Wendy. I've got a bunch of questions clients have sent in. We'll go over them. I'll let you kick it off. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Travis, and welcome everyone. It's an honor to be here. Like Travis mentioned, I have been working with Claire for 25 years now. It is hard to believe. We have been through a lot in the industry. There has been airlines bankrupt, we've got natural disasters, 9/11, but nothing has rocked the industry as much as COVID has, as of course it's rocked sort of everyone. So I am here today, and we're going to go over some tips and tricks, and I can give you advice on what to do with if you have any past credits, future travel, all that sort of stuff.
Perfect.
All right, so travel is changing. It's changed in the past, and it's going to be changing in the future. So at this point, if any of you are looking at traveling, the mandatory quarantine hotels are the current new norm. Good news is the number of nights has been reduced. And if any of you have any questions on this particular aspect of the quarantine hotel, you can definitely.
And that's returning to Canada. That's probably not going to Mexico. That's like when you come back to Canada, you have to quarantine in a hotel, pay some money, and so on.
That's correct. Sorry. Yes. So when you do travel outside of Canada and you do come back, currently the government is mandating that you stay a minimum of 3 nights in a quarantine hotel until you get your COVID negative test back. Now, this is running about $1,000 for the 3 nights, and that is with all your meals delivered. It's an expensive addition to your trip. However, if people are able to do it and people do want to travel, it is an option. It would be at your first point of entry into Canada. So that's going to be Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, Montreal.
And those are the only points right now that you can enter Canada. You can't come, there's no Victoria, Mexico flight that's going on right now.
Not right now.
Okay.
So you will be doing the mandatory hotel quarantine. Now, of course, as people start to get vaccinated, we are truly hoping that a quick PCR test will be able to be done, and this will they will do away with the mandatory quarantine.
Perfect.
Until then, though, this is the new norm. Now, on the screen here, I have a destination tracker. This is brand new. It was just announced 2 days ago. This is by the IATA, which is the International Air Transportation Association, has come out with this website. And what it is, it's the way that you're going to be looking up destinations, where you can travel to, what their restrictions are. Do you need a COVID test? Do you need, COVID vaccination? Do you need a negative test result? Do you need, for instance, if you're traveling to Ethiopia, you need yellow fever. It has a ton of information. And I think it's one of the good things that actually has come out of this pandemic is that we are consolidating all this information, because it's out there for everyone to read in 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different websites, but now it's all combined into this one website. It's great options. It tells you what you need for health, air travel. It talks about the different destinations, regulations. It's a great tool, and definitely something that I can see turning into an app eventually, and something that everyone will be using.
And I'm going to send that out. I'll get that from Wendy and
Yep.
send that out to everyone. I'm sure everyone's going to ask about that. So yeah, that'll come out in an email Friday.
Perfect. And then we have our vaccination passport. Now, this is the picture here is the one that the EU is currently using. And whether Canada will be using this version or another version, there's lots of different companies that are coming out with options. The hardest thing will be to get it all synced with the airline and the app, but also making sure that your information is kept safe. That's, the main thing when you're putting out your information. You're putting out your passport number, your birth date, all your details. You're talking about your vaccine. Keeping that information secure is the top priority of the different companies. So again, IATA will be also putting out a vaccine passport. So we just have to, wait and see. We're still a little ways off at this point, where the Canadian government is advising no travel. So, but this is something that will be coming in the future as a vaccine passport of some sort.
What do you see, say we get 75% of Canada vaccinated by July 1st, like the government's goal, and we start to see numbers really decline rapidly. Like, do you see them start allowing international travel, or is there still that kind of worry? Is like the travel industry worried about like that the government's going to keep us locked down because of variants and things like that? Like, what is the travel industry seeing happening in the next 6 months, 2 years?
Well, I think the travel industry is really banding together and trying to get the government to open up travel. It's been a tough go for our airlines, our travel agents, the hotel,
I'm sure, yeah.
the travel agents, like the restaurants, everything. If you think about cruise, in the cruise season in Victoria and Vancouver, we're going to lose that Alaska cruise season this year. And that is devastating to our economies. So as a community, as a association, the travel agencies and travel companies are really pushing to, let's get travel open. Of course, we also want to be safe, and we want to keep our country safe and our residents safe. So it's unfortunately it's a double-edged sword. So there's two things to think about. There's whether we are allowed to travel to other countries and whether other countries are allowed to travel here.
Or yeah, like whether they'll accept us. Like we
Right.
want to go there, but they're saying thanks, but like no thanks. Or they have like Australia, you can go there now.
Yeah.
It's just like $3,000 or whatever it is, 10 grand to stay in a hotel for 2 weeks. So like that's you're staying there, and so
Yeah.
you better go for a while if you want to go to Australia.
Exactly. I think our hope for Canadians is that Europe opens up first. I think that's going to be I think that would be the first place. If we can get the European Union, if we can get our numbers down and we can work with the European Union and we can get the Canadians to Europe, I think that's going to be the first hurdle. And I really hope that that's, we can push for that for fingers crossed this summer. There are cruise ships over in Europe that have been cruising with no COVID outbreaks at all.
Really? Wow.
They have been operating through the whole COVID time period. They're doing it safely. We just need to get vaccinated in order to get there. And then hopefully once we get home, we can get rid of this mandatory hotel quarantine.
So what I'm hearing is that one of the big keys to travel is going to be vaccinations. Like it seems like every country is wanting, if you want to go to their country, the first step is going to be vaccinated, most likely.
Definitely. Yeah. And, making sure it's the 2 shots. So you do need to be fully vaccinated, plus waiting the 14 days and getting that instant test to be able to have your vaccination certificate and your green pass that says, yes, you have your COVID free, and then let's travel the world. I think Asia might be a little different. They may, because the countries, they're so easy to travel around, they might do more of like a travel bubble and restrict, say like, for instance, like Hong Kong and Singapore, they may have like a reciprocal travel agreement. So they can travel within those countries. So Asia may be a little bit different. We're still waiting to hear, but definitely Europe is where our sites are focused. And of course, America. Who doesn't want to get to Hawaii and Disneyland and Las
Florida.
Vegas?
Yeah.
Palm Springs.
I don't want to steal your thunder. Do you have a slide talking about if someone wants to book a trip now just because of pricing? Are you going to talk about that?
I do have a few
Sure,
price slides.
Yeah, sure.
Right now, let's see, what do we have? These are some of the travel trends. I think number one, we've never had this before, the flexibility in cancellation penalties. Like as a travel agent, this is great news, because if you had traveled previously and you'd bought sort of like, say, your all-inclusive travel trip to Mexico, it's 100% non-refundable once you apply your deposit. And that makes it really difficult. It makes it difficult in every aspect. But now companies now see we need to be flexible. So there's tons of great options with flexible cancellation penalties. So you just have to know what you're booking as far as the penalties are concerned. Some of the trends we're seeing is definitely, let's get the family together. No one's traveled for 2 years. Let's do a big trip with grandma and the grandkids and the aunts and the uncles. That's what we're planning. So I think that's what a lot of people will be planning.
Okay.
I think people have been dreaming of traveling. So some big bucket list trips, they can, if they haven't renovated their house and spent their travel money doing that, maybe they've been saving up, and instead of that, maybe trip to Africa, that's on my bucket list, maybe that's sooner rather than later sort of thing.
I have one client that wanted to go air ballooning in Africa. This is before COVID. And so, maybe this is, that might be something they're looking at.
Definitely. I think people are not changing their priorities, but understanding that things can change so quickly, and let's get those trips in. So
for sure.
And something interesting that I was just reading about is a mystery trip. So one of the cruise lines that I've actually sailed on, so it's a river cruise, and it's Uniworld Cruises, and it's a mystery trip. You book this trip, and sort of 3 weeks prior, they send you a packing list, so everyone knows what to bring as far as clothing is concerned, but you do not know where you're going.
Wow.
You get on a flight, so you'll know, say, for instance, you fly into Amsterdam, but then from there, you don't know where you're going, so it's pretty interesting. So just some, companies have really had to pivot. It's the word, really had to pivot and make travel a bit unique.
For sure. That kind of reminds me of the game Bad Santa or whatever. You go to gift exchange. You don't know what you're going to get. I don't know if that'd be for me, but I could see it being appealing. You're flying into like Fort Lauderdale and you're going to hop on a cruise ship, and who knows what ports you're going to kind of see. So,
So, I'm a little bit of a control freak, so that doesn't work in my world. So we will not be going on that trip, but for some people that's great. Just, enjoy. Yeah.
All right.
So I just popped on a few cruise specials here. I don't know if anyone has been to Iceland. Travis, it is phenomenal. I love every little part of it. So cruising is always a great way to travel, such great value. And right now, if every cruise line has phenomenal deals. And this is where, your biggest bang for your buck is in cruising. It really is. Because you can get your meals, your drinks, your Wi-Fi, your gratuities, especially, to see different parts of the world.
So this just booking, like you mentioned this. So what if someone's wanting to book, like, what about pricing now versus pricing once everyone's vaccinated? Like, do you see pricing starting to go up because you've got a world that's maybe hungering for travel? Are there better deals to be had? Can people feel safe booking something now and locking in a price now versus taking their chance 6 months from now? Like, what does that look like?
I really think that, booking now, these are for 2022. I don't think it's going to get any cheaper. People are just, like, book now. It's only a deposit. The deposit's refundable.
When does it become non-refundable, like on a deposit?
Well, it all depends. There's different levels. Most
Okay.
times it's 90 days prior to departure, but even at that, you guys, we're always going to recommend purchasing insurance because more than ever, you need to know what you're covered for. I've been selling insurance, travel insurance for 25 years. It is the most important aspect of a trip. And it's unfortunately, it is expensive. It's not, you do have to factor another 10 to 20% of the trip. But I've just had so many horror stories of people appendix burst the day before they leave on this non-refundable trip. Of course, they're healthy, they're going to travel no matter what. Is a lot of things. Also, insurance for pre-existing conditions. I know that's really an aspect for people that are getting a little bit older and having the pre-existing conditions covered. I know my parents, I will not let them travel without the proper insurance. My dad would love just to, oh, we're just going down to Vegas. It doesn't matter. Oh, it matters, especially in Vegas. So I really think making sure you guys, everyone has the proper insurance.
So you're talking about like health insurance, but then you're also talking about cancellation insurance as well. Is that kind of what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
both are super important. And there is one thing to look out for with cancellation insurance. There's now a type of insurance that's called cancel for any reason. There's restrictions on it, but it is a great option because that gives you then, if the insurance, say for instance, you have your house floods, some cancellation insurance will cover that, some won't. But if you have the cancel for any reason aspect, then you would get a percentage back. So it is a great option. And the thing with insurance more than ever, it is so personalized. Before we could send out sort of a general email, this is what their insurance would be on your trip. But now we really need to like dive into, did you book your trip on points? Did you have a future travel credit? A lot of people are holding future travel credits and they don't know what to do with them.
Do you have a slide on that? Actually, that's probably, I'm sure like a number of people on this call have future travel credits. I know my in-laws do. Like, what does that
Yeah.
look like for them?
Well, what it looks like is every future travel credit is different.
Oh,
So it
good.
looks like it looks like a phone call to Wendy or an email to
Yeah.
Wendy. And
Yeah.
even if you did not book your original travel with a travel agent, even if you didn't book your original travel with this travel agent, I will still help you and guide you through the
Sure.
process because there are millions of dollars in travel credits and you want to make sure that you don't lose that money. You work really hard for your money and we need to make sure that you're getting that and getting the trips that you really want and deserve.
So typically with a future travel credit, I'm sure it's good for like a time period, like almost all of them, or it's like 2 years or something, I think is what I've been hearing. Is that right?
Exactly. They all have a time limit on them, but really these days they're extending them and extending them, especially because our government isn't allowing us to travel. So the travel companies really don't have an option other than to extend them.
Now, what happens, the cynic in me says, I've got this travel credit, but if I wanted to book like this deal here, the price I'm going to pay is maybe higher than like my travel credit. No, that they'd still, okay, interesting. Okay.
Back in the day, to be honest, yes, there were always loopholes and, oh, you have a travel credit, you can't get the good deal. But the tour companies are desperate, right? They
Okay.
want you back. They can't continue unless they get you guys back. So,
Sure.
if you guys have the cruise or the air, they just want you back. And they are trying for I think the first time ever, it seems to be they're in the consumers, they're cheering you on and trying to get you back.
So I want to pivot just for a sec and talk about local travel. I think that I'm not sure if you've been seeing like more people booking like trips locally, but I know my son and I just booked a camping trip for like June 14th. And anyone on here, if you do want to go camping, the provincial government has a website, and literally every day it's 2 months ahead that it's opening up. And so I went on Sunday morning at like 6 o'clock. And the time period, there's only like 5 campsites left. So what you may want to do is if you want to go for a weekend, you book like the Thursday to Sunday, because you can book that Thursday and then the Friday, and you can book forward.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm seeing. I was just listening to a podcast on Airbnb, which I have my issues with Airbnb and rental affordability. But one of the things, they were going to go bankrupt. And
Yeah.
one of the things that was saving them is that there's a lot of local traveling, that's going on right now. And so I'm no, have you seen like more people traveling locally and just staying local and doing that type of thing?
Definitely. I think local travel and especially supporting your, I know it sounds crazy, but supporting your local, even in on the island, like supporting your local resorts. There are great deals out there. Every hotel is, desperate for people to stay. I know we've booked, um, we're going to Pender Island for 4 nights in the summer. Can't wait for that.
There's a lot of people on Pender Island on this call. So
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
good. Yes, we're coming. We were my husband and I and our families were at Poets Cove last year, and we're coming back again. We loved it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can still travel out of our health zone because I'm in the Fraser Valley, so we're a little bit of a hotbed of this COVID.
They don't want you right now. Like
Well, they
thanks,
don't.
but no thanks would be their message.
No, I
Yeah.
know. But by then, I'm fingers crossed, I'll have both shots.
Yes.
So it's good.
Good.
So I definitely think local trips, and come over to come take HeliJet. It's something that we're going to do this summer. We've never done it. I've never done it. We're going to take the kids on HeliJet and just support local. I think through the COVID, we've all tried to support local, and I think supporting our local BC resorts, hotels, bed and breakfasts, all that stuff. And also, staying in Canada, as soon as, the cases are under control, jump in an RV, do an RV trip. We did RV and we drove out to Drumheller one year, best trip we've ever taken. So yeah, staying local is also good.
I mentioned, funny you mentioned RVs. Try to buy an RV right now. Good
Oh,
luck. Try to buy a boat right now. Good luck. And so they're one of my clients that has a boat that's actually on this call. So I'm hoping maybe if restrictions die down, I'm going to be able to go out in the water with them. Yeah, so the recreational sales are people. I think people are trying to stay. Also, just environmentally, I know that. There's a lot of folks on this call that have a heart for the environment, and they realize when they do travel that creates a bit of a footprint. So doing
yeah.
some local stuff is good too. What about driving to the US? What is that gonna like? What have you heard for if folks want to drive? Like right now, it's only flying because they can track you a lot better. That's going to be the last thing that's probably going to open up, I would imagine.
I think so. I think you still can. You
Oh,
still
really?
you can cross the border.
Oh,
You're not supposed
I didn't
to,
know
but
that.
you can.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
You can. I had a girlfriend. She had a grandson born in Seattle, so she drove down because she wasn't not going to see her grandson.
Sure.
I think it is going to be one of the it's interesting. Originally, it was Canada that didn't want the Americans to. We
Yeah.
wanted them to keep their Washington State COVID, and now they're rocking it, and they're probably saying, "Oh no, Canada, we don't want you." So I think we'll have to see how our cases are doing right now. Definitely in Ontario, that border's not opening anytime soon, and I think now it's the reverse. The Americans don't necessarily want us in their country
Interesting. Yeah, I would
with our
never thought
virus.
that a year ago, right? So yeah.
Exactly. So,
Okay.
hopefully, it's all hinging on getting us vaccinated.
Now, do you see more direct flights? Like whenever I book a flight, I'll call the travel agent and I tell them like, I don't that whatever time my clock is, if I was to set a stopwatch, I want that time to like when the stopwatch goes off when I get to my destination, I want that to be the shortest. Like I don't want to travel the United States and stop at every airport. I just want to do like, do you see more direct flights coming out of this because people just are like, there's less chance of, mixing and whatever. Is that kind of like a trend that could be coming?
I don't know. I would love that trend to happen. That would
Okay.
be because let me tell you, I actually don't enjoy flying. So
Okay.
I know the travel agent that doesn't like to fly.
Yeah.
I would love to get more direct flights. The problem is that's expensive
Right.
as far as the airlines are concerned. And they want to be able to service as many places as possible with as few as flights as possible. They're the poor airlines. Like my heart breaks because the staff, the pilots, they've been decimated, like hundreds
Yeah.
and thousands of people laid off. So I think for a while we might have to do destinations that are closer to your home will result in a less number of connections.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, Anyone, last year after RSP time, usually I
Yeah.
take a week off. And so I flew down to Mexico last year,
Yeah.
and several people, I did a conference call from the resort while the markets were dropping significantly.
Oh yeah.
And we had a direct flight there, which was great. And then, stupidly, I booked I don't know we didn't get one coming back. And
No.
so I would have paid anything at that point last year to just fly directly back to Victoria versus stopping in Vancouver.
I
So
know. And it's so tough because trust me, we have like tons of clients on the island, and we would love whenever there's a direct flight out of Victoria. It's like it's a huge deal for us travel agents because it just makes life so much easier for everyone.
perfect.
Coming in, having to take the ferry the night before, spend the night in the hotel, it just draws out the process. All you want to do is get to your hot, sunny, or exciting city vacation and get home.
Wendy, did you have some more slides? We're approaching
Yeah,
10:30. We'll try to wrap it up
for
here and then
sure.
open it up for questions. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I just have a few. If you're thinking of doing some islands in
Okay.
2022 here, Greece is really, I think Greece is going to be the destination that we need to support. They're going to be they're one of the first destinations that is going to open up to the world. They're calling us back. So that
Okay.
is that's a fabulous price. That's 9 nights, 3 different islands. And I just love Greece. I have a soft spot in my heart for that.
And that's
Um,
all included too, like
yeah,
$3,000 each type of thing. Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can't beat Hawaii. It's just like part of me, I think, is part Hawaiian. So of course, Kanapali.
I had a question is like, do you see
Yeah.
BC ferries running like trips to nowhere type of like, maybe they'll do like like you could go on like a little cruise. Is that the question, George, that you're asking? Like the airlines where you can just hop, do you see them hopping on maybe like BC
Yeah, I
ferries
missed
turning into,
that. I missed that buffet,
yeah,
I
yeah, right.
know. You know what?
I know you guys travel a lot and you probably are sick of the ferries, but for us that haven't been on them for a while. Now it
I
just
know.
occurred to me, I mean, we can still do the small island ferries. I mean, I could do the one that runs from Mill Bay, things like that, but it's not the same thing.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
not the same. I love the ferry. I love because to me the ferry is it's always at a holiday when I get to go on the ferry. So
Yeah.
I don't like. I know in Australia they are doing those flights to nowhere. I BC Ferries is its own sort of unique.
I'm really joking. I don't.
Yeah,
Okay,
I figured
I
that.
don't
Yeah,
see it happening. I
I
don't see
did
it
have one
happening.
other question there in
Sure.
the stream, and that's whether the Veer Rail is taking passengers like up to Banff and stuff like that. I'm really not going to leave Canada. I'm just going to stay within Canada, but because I don't think, and I can stay within BC, and after the May long weekend, we'll be able to travel all around BC, I hope.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that. Do you know if the Veer Rail is still taking passengers to Banff from Vancouver?
I don't, but I can definitely look into that. I know that the Rocky Mountaineer is doing trips
Oh,
this.
okay. Well, that's the same thing. Yeah, if they're taking
Yeah.
them, then Veer Rail will take them.
Yeah, so now the Rocky Mountaineer, definitely take I can send some details. I know that we do have, I don't have the slide here, but I know there was one deal that we had because they typically are for inbound travel. There's not a lot of BCers that have done the Rocky Mountaineer trip. It is a bucket list. It is a very expensive trip to do, but it is phenomenal. So I know that they will be coming out with some good deals because they are, they're desperate for people on their trains.
Okay.
So that's actually a really good point. I actually had another client email me before this saying that he'd done a rail trip a few years ago and still thinks very highly of it. And
Oh yeah.
and I just had clients this past 2 years ago before COVID. They're moving out to Montreal, and so they took like a pass and they went across Canada. And so maybe if you're looking for something later in the summer, maybe it's instead of flying somewhere, it's you're hopping on a train and you're exploring Canada. So that might be something to think about for folks that are looking for a trip this year.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That is a great idea.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
We got a couple more minutes left. Do you have any other slides, topics? I've got one more question, so I'll let you. Yeah. Where do you see the tourism industry and like travel? Do you see any big changes coming up? what could be changing in your industry in the next number of years?
I think the first one that we've already seen is just the flexibility in the booking process. I think
Okay.
that it's fabulous that it's come out of the pandemic, that clients are going to be able to take advantage of that, being flexible on your travel. I think we are going to see a resurgence of travel agents. I think having that person on the other end of the phone that can help you 24/7. Even like I had my own personal trip. I was in Australia during the fires in Australia back in 2 years ago. And I had to call the office and I said, can you help me? I need to cancel my Sydney stay. I need to change my flights. I'm staying in Brisbane longer. And if I didn't have a travel agent, I would have had to spend my day in Australia doing that. So I think having that advisor on the other end of the phone, it's an advisor for, anything else. It's
Now,
important.
what like pricing? My understanding is if you book it yourself versus you book it with a travel agent, it's pretty much the same cost, isn't it? Like you're not saving
Exactly.
anything by booking it yourself.
No, that's exactly right. So,
That's what I thought. Yeah.
yeah, there are some agents that do or agencies that do charge like a management fee. So, if for instance, because back in the day when I started 25 years ago, I could sell an airline ticket and I would make 10% commission. You would not pay anything different, and I'd make 10% of the base fare, not the tax, which taxes are $700, but of the base fare. And now travel agents make $0 on an airline ticket.
Interesting. Okay.
So, but having said that, I want to be able to help you with your flights, your hotel, your everything, because booking airfare with one company, not like with, by yourself. And then, we have clients that picked Dallas instead of Dulles, like two different places.
Oh
And,
yeah.
you
Right. Yeah.
just want to make sure that you're getting to the right destination and the right times. There's a lot that goes into it. But as a travel agent, there are some times that we actually can get better deals than you. For instance, on the screen now, you'll see Holland America. We've negotiated. The office is actually doing a virtual event tonight. So we're going to have exclusive pricing. So you wouldn't be able to find this pricing without us. So a lot of times we can do that on flights. There's different companies that we can use so we can get a consolidated rate. Same with hotels. So, sometimes it is best to check with a travel agent. Sometimes they may charge a fee. Sometimes they might not. It all depends. But it's definitely worth having that person, because one of the slogans was, if you don't have an agent, you don't have like any assistance. And there was like this big lifesaver ring.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
my father-in-law, like he loves to spend hours looking for
Oh,
deals and scorching, and that's not for me. Like I got so much going on with the kids and
yeah,
work and everything, and so I would be happy just to have somebody else to say, hey, this is where we want to go, like figure something out.
yeah.
And I think a lot of folks on this call too, same thing. So I actually I didn't know that the pricing. I kind of always thought like, oh, if you were looking yourself through Expedia or whatever, you get like a way better deal. But that's funny that it's
Yeah.
if you get a travel agent too, and just having someone who's like, oh yeah, we've had people that go there, they liked it or they didn't, and you want to stay away here, that can be really valuable.
Exactly.
I'm going to open it up for
Yeah,
questions.
for
You
sure.
can either email them to me right now, or if you want to just like type them into the chat bar too. If there's anyone has any questions or thoughts. I had one client, she was asking like she was going to go to Mexico. They go every year and then they've had to skip a couple of years, and their friends had booked like, is there certain companies that have like buses that take you to like an area or something like that? Or is do all of them kind of have like shuttles and things like that, like lining it up on the other end, like when you go
Like
down there?
once you arrive and then taking you to your hotels and stuff. Yep, all the companies have
Okay.
shuttles. Now, if you're not comfortable going into a shuttle with 58 other people, we can definitely look at doing like a private shuttle. If you want your own car to pick you up, like a little Suburban with you and your like a couple or two couples, we can do that as well. In fact, sometimes when we're traveling as a big family, it's cheaper to get two Suburbans, get us in, get us out quicker than waiting, sort of thing. So, yep, nope, definitely lots of options there.
What about someone like they're just like, you know what, this has been pretty stressful, this whole, and then I want to dip my toe back into the water. Where do you see is like the first destination to be kind of safe, where it's like, okay, I'm going to travel outside of Canada. This is my first, like, where, like, is it Florida? Is it California? Like, where do you, or Mexico? Like, where do you see people starting to dip their toe in the water if if they just want to like, hey, I'm going to start traveling again and I haven't done it in a while?
I think it's going to be Hawaii. From
Okay.
Western Canada, I
Yep.
really think it's going to be Hawaii, just because you're still in North America. As far as Mexico is concerned, I love Mexico. I am a little personally, I'm a little bit concerned about the hotels being empty for a year.
Right. Okay.
Right? Like I just want to wait until, flights are started. I'd like to get down there myself. I want to check out these hotels and just make sure, when it's like if you don't open a fridge for a year, what happens, right? I
Right.
just think, you're in tropical climates. I just want to get some reports back on some of the destinations.
Okay.
Where I
That
know
makes sense.
In Hawaii, you have your brands like the Sheraton, the Westin, the reputable brands. They do have a level of.
And Americans have been traveling to Hawaii through this whole thing because
Exactly.
you're
Yeah.
in the
So
States. And so,
yeah,
yeah, like you've got a big population base that have kind of kept these places going. So,
yeah,
okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
And I think Vegas. I think Vegas is going to be the cheap and cheerful. Whether you want to gamble or you just want to sit at a pool and do nothing for 2 or 3 days, go to the spa, have some nice restaurants. I actually think that'll probably be my first place to go.
Okay. Good, good, good. What else? Questions? Anyone else got any questions? We'll maybe just see if there's anyone else who has any questions here. I'll check my email.
If
If not,
anyone is, I'll just
oh yeah.
comment on this slide. If anyone is free tonight, you can go to the travelbestbets.com website and you can sign up for this virtual live event. It's 7 o'clock tonight. It's with Claire Newell, of course, and Holland America, and they'll just be going through some of their promotions and offers. And if you have nothing to do at 7 tonight, you can take a look at what some of the ships are doing. So, but one thing I do want to mention is make sure that you are following Claire on all of her various channels. So on Facebook and Instagram, she has her finger on the pulse of all the news. She reads more news than my husband. All the news, all the trends, all the deals. Yeah, she has not taken a day off during this COVID.
I don't want to give Wendy a plug. If anyone is thinking about booking anything, please, Wendy's got her information there. Please reach out to her. She'd be more than happy to help. I just had a question come in. I've got a client that wants to go to Europe, like Spain, Portugal area this summer. There's some like family stuff they've got to deal with.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be possible? And then the quarantine's most likely going to be like, I think they're going to be vaccinated. They work kind of with, like there were some of the frontline workers. So I think they'll be vaccinated by then. So it's probable that they'll be able to go there, and likely they'll have a 3-day quarantine when they get back.
Well, fingers crossed, that would be ideal. As soon as the European Union opens its
Like
borders.
right now, like you can't even book a flight to Spain or Brisbane or.
You can book the flight.
Yeah.
The Canadian
Nothing's
government.
running, like no flights to okay, interesting. Okay.
So,
and then definitely that 3-day quarantine is probably going to be there for a while, I would think. No one knows.
Or if our governments can get like the rapid testing, that would be ideal. But no,
Okay.
I think this summer, if you are traveling to Europe, I think there are going to be that mandatory hotel stay, and then even further, the 8 days after that.
In your house, you get a self quarantine.
Yeah.
Okay.
But hopefully, you know what? I don't know. Who knows? Right? We thought this. I remember thinking when this March, mid-March last year, I'm like, oh, this will be like a 3-month thing.
Yeah, we'll be done. Yeah.
We've gone through SARS. We've gone through the pit. Like we've done it. We've like ticked the box. It's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think we'll let Wendy, if anyone has any other questions, please email me and I can ask her. I want to thank you so much, Wendy. Also want to thank everyone on here. And if there's somebody that that I'll send this email out later that would appreciate seeing this, please share it with your family and friends. And if they have any questions on this type of thing, please consider me a resource. Thank you so much, Wendy.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Wait for everyone to log off here.